So the first question I had was just kind of giving me, because the audience that we're going to be talking to or is going to be reading this is probably someone that never either heard of Best Buddies, or maybe they have heard of Best Buddies, but doesn't know that much about it. So kind of the history of how Best Buddies got started and all that good stuff.
Sure. So Best Buddies is a nonprofit that believes in inclusion for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. About 30 years ago now, our founder, Anthony Shriver, who is still our CEO to this day, realized that there really weren't social opportunities for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and thought, why is that? He started a chapter, a club really, at his school when he was at Georgetown University, where someone with a disability and someone without were paired in a one-to-one friendship. And it really wasn't meant to be a mentorship or anyone helping anyone out. It was just meant to be a time to hang out and have fun. The campus club really took off, and a lot of people really enjoyed it. And other colleges across the nation started opening Best Buddies friendship chapters as well. And today we're in colleges, high schools, middle schools, and some states even have elementary schools where we have chapters. We're in all 50 states and in more than 50 countries across the world. It's important because a lot of times people with disabilities don't have the opportunity to even meet a friend. I think peers that do not have disabilities sometimes don't know how to approach someone. So it's a very intentional relationship that ends up being something that becomes very natural at a school and in a community when people see that people with disabilities are really just like us and want to have friends and want to hang out and want to be leaders. Since we started 30 years ago, our mission has expanded not to just be friendship, but also 3 other mission pillars. We have leadership, where individuals come and learn great public speaking skills and really how to be a self-advocate. People with and without disabilities can come do this training. It's great. Every time we have one, I always hone in on my public speaking skills. And for people with disabilities, it's sometimes the first opportunity or the first time that they've even been asked, are you a leader and do you want to be? So our ambassadors, once someone has gone through that program, have the opportunity to speak across our state and nationally as well. Some of our ambassadors have become global ambassadors and speak at Best Buddies International events. We also have a jobs program nationally, our 3rd mission pillar, where we promote inclusive workplaces and integrated employment. I think the Best Buddies approach is a very boutique approach. We really ask individuals, what do they want to do? What is their skill set, and how can we match that in an employer? I think employers find that when hiring individuals with disabilities, they get a great employee that's going to be there for a long time. It's not just the right thing to do, it also makes great business sense. This year, along with our 30th celebration, we've launched our 4th mission pillar, which is inclusive living. Many thanks to a wonderful donor who was able to provide us with a home in Southern California, where we're piloting the program right now. I love Best Buddies because it's very forward thinking, and we're trying something new and seeing if it works and what we can do to make sure that people with disabilities have friends, leadership opportunities, jobs, and great living environments to be in.
Super. So that last one you mentioned, the inclusive living, that's the first time I've heard of that one. I don't want to get off track, but this is personal more for the article.
Yeah.
So was this something in regards to just taking it one step farther? And is it families, or is it anybody that is involved with that, or is that college students? I'm not for sure.
Sure, and I'll admit that I'm still learning a lot about the program myself, but it's college students, I believe at the University UC Berkeley,
Okay.
and it's students with and without disabilities that are living together is how they're piloting the program. I think that in the disabilities movement, there's been a great need for inclusive living. I think that's probably an issue that spans everybody, regardless of your if you have a disability or not, or housing issues. And so Best Buddies had an opportunity to look at how can we improve that and how can we make the world a better place
Sure.
for people with disabilities. And this is one thing we can do. I think if I'll say anything about Anthony Shriver, he's a very forward-thinking individual who knows the world can change. And
Right.
I think we're starting somewhere, and I'm really excited about it. And it really makes me excited to work for Best Buddies because I don't have all the answers, but I know that we're trying to find them. And I think that's really cool.
Good.
I'm really looking forward to see how it's going and what we'll be able to do with it. I know the person that's directing that project, Cynthia Bowles, is even looking at a few other locations where we may be able to also have the program. I'm not quite sure what the next step is, but I cannot wait to share.
No, that'd be neat. So tell me about your history and how you got involved and all that good stuff.
Sure. So I moved up to Cleveland 4 years ago now, almost 4 years to the day, actually. And um, I was looking to get involved in something, and a good friend of mine from Tampa who worked on the national team for Best Buddies reached out to me and said, we're having a friendship walk in Cleveland and they're trying to really get off the ground there. Would you volunteer? So I love Katie Franco is her name. And I said, sure, I'll do anything that Katie asked me to do. And I got to attend our friendship walk that year and be part of the committee that helped plan the event. And um, it was really my first time ever working with anyone in this disability rights movement. And it was very inspiring to be there. But I think what really made me understand the mission of Best Buddies is I was invited to attend the International Leadership Conference that happens in Bloomington, Indiana every year. And I was sitting in an audience of more than 2,000 people. Some were students in our friendship chapters, others were our ambassadors, and others were community leaders like myself who wanted to know how to spread inclusion in our communities. There was a young woman who got on the stage, Katie Mead, and she was doing an awesome speech to the whole crowd. And one of the things she said was, last year's Best Buddies helped me get a job, and now I pay taxes. And she was really proud of that statement, and everyone kind of chuckled in the audience, but it was really my aha moment because I realized that Katie Mead was just like me. You know, we wanted to have a job, we wanted to contribute to our community. And I think it took any of the stigma about people with disabilities away from me. And I was like, oh, these people could be my friends, they can be great leaders, they can be coworkers of mine, and they should be given that opportunity to do it. And so at that point, I contacted the current state director in Ohio, Janet, and I'm like, take all my money. What do we need to do? What can we do to really make this bigger in Ohio? And I continued volunteering, and Janet went into another part of our organization, and they called me to see if I would want to be the state director for Ohio. And I think before they even said, you know, you can interview on this state, I was like, yes, I'll take the job because I love this organization. You know, this is so much more than a job for me. And since working here, I've just gotten to speak to so many families, so many people that are affected. And it's really very simple, but friendship changes lives. And when someone has someone that they can confide in and be with and spend life with, um, they they have a much better life. And I want to work every single day to make sure that anyone who wants an opportunity at a friendship, at a leadership, at a job has one. And so I've been working for Best Buddies for about a year and a half now, and we've done a lot of great things, and we're going to continue to do more.
Great. Great. I didn't know that how you actually got involved. I thought that's a good story. That's wonderful. So, okay. So let me go here. Third question. I think you might have answered it. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more maybe on it. But if there was maybe two or three things about Best Buddies and why you think it's important, and the impact it's making, I think you answered some of it, but if you want to elaborate on anything, please feel free to.
Sure. I think, at the very heart of what we do, um, when someone has a friend for the first time and someone that comes up and says hello and they can talk to on a regular basis, you become such a more confident person. You're a happier person. I think a lot of times for someone that is totally unaware of what Best Buddies does, I ask, can you imagine walking into high school and nobody being your friend, no one coming up to you and saying hello? It would make for a much different experience in school. I know that I was really lucky to have wonderful parents who taught me amazing things, but I think my life has been so enriched by the friends that I've met along the way. And unfortunately, people with disabilities haven't always had those opportunities. And now they are because of Best Buddies. I really think that's the most important part of our mission. But when someone does have those opportunities, they also later in life have the opportunities to be a leader if they want and to get a job. And they're going to be a lot more successful in those endeavors when they have a great community around them.
Okay. So you've been focusing more on the individuals and so forth. Talk about the people that are the actual. I always get it mixed up, the buddy and
The peer buddy, yeah.
peer buddy. So talk to me about that peer buddy. What because you experienced it, I guess, is what it's one thing for someone to have their first friend, but it's another thing for someone like yourself to reach out. What do they get out of it?
Sure. So when there's a Best Buddies chapter at a school, students with disabilities and students without disabilities will sign up for the chapter. And then a one-to-one friendship match is made by the chapter president based on similar interests, age, a bunch of different things that go into it when someone applies. And the students that are without disabilities join because they believe in more inclusive communities. And I think what they get out of it is similar to my experience in that they realize that people with disabilities have the same hopes, dreams, and desires that people without disabilities have. I think that's something so cool about Best Buddies is it's not just a handout to someone with a disability. It's truly changing perceptions of people with disabilities. And I think time and time again, I'm so excited to see when someone with disabilities changes my mind about what they were able to do. They have so many more abilities, I think, than a lot of the average citizen would give them. And
Sure.
so would think that they would have. And so for people without disabilities, it's really changing perceptions. And I think it's making the world a better place.
Great. Great. No, I would definitely agree with that from just my own experience. So can you give me one of your stories about a best buddy match? And maybe it's one of the I don't know if it's one it's a college match or if it's a citizen match that's something maybe you want to promote more, and just a little bit about their story.
Sure. So if we make a friendship match that's outside of a school, it's called a citizens match. And I'm going to, one that I've been able to follow really closely because they live up here in Cleveland with me and I get to hang out with them quite a bit, are Casey and Sammy. They're both 32 years old and two women that both wanted to be involved in the program. And they have very similar interests and they live really close together. And so we said, well, what if you're in a Best Buddy Citizens match? And so they met and they hit it off right away. And since they met almost 2 years ago now, they've gone on family trips together. They've gone to so many events, baseball games, the Best Buddies Friendship Walk. They've traveled to Cape Cod together. And they've done just really cool things. And I think for Casey, who's the peer buddy, she's just shared how much Sammy has changed her life. And if she's having a bad day, she calls Sammy. They're truly best friends. And she goes, I don't know that I would have met Sammy or thought that we could be friends if it weren't for Best Buddies. For Sammy, she feels like she has another family member. She loves Best Buddies because she has someone that's a friend that's not a family member, though, at the same time, and someone that she can really connect with on a different level. And I love following them. I love, getting to be a part of it too.
Sure.
And I'm really excited because I think citizens in Ohio we'll be able to expand our mission a lot more because people with disabilities aren't just in school. There's adults
Sure.
that want those social opportunities and leadership opportunities. And in Ohio, luckily, we've gotten to a place where we're able to provide those programs here to make it a reality. And while it's a very intentional friendship in the beginning, it turned into something that they're doing on their own. And that's really our mission. We want to work ourselves out of a job where we aren't having to have the friendship chapter one day.
Right.
It just happens,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah. Now, is there other matches? I've heard Connie mention something about business related one or something of that nature.
Sure.
Okay. So
Yes. Yeah.
tell me a little if there's some other ones that are out there that maybe besides the citizen one that I'm not familiar with anyway. Please share those.
Sure. So there's two programs really outside of the school friendship chapters. There's the Citizens Program, which can just be one-off volunteers, or it could be held at a community organization or at a corporation across the state. So in Ohio, we don't have a corporate citizens chapter or a citizens chapter yet.
Mm-hmm.
But in some other states, like I know Bank of America, actually I'll use Bloomberg, has one in New York City where employees of the company are matched with individuals with disabilities that are in the community, and they host events there 4 times a year. And I'm not quite sure the details of those events, but there'll be something like everybody will have lunch together, or they'll have a Friday happy hour after work or something like that.
Okay.
We don't have one of those in Ohio yet, but we hope to. And if there was ever a corporation or a community group that really wanted to have a chapter, we could do that. The other friendship program we have is eBuddies, and eBuddies has been around for I think 15 to 20 years now, and you have an online pen pal.
Okay.
My eBuddy is Tasha, and she actually lives in Canada, and she and I email back and forth about 4 times a month. I really love it because it's great to keep up with someone outside of Ohio, see what's going on in Canada. It's pretty cool, actually. And if someone wants to join that program, it's really very easy, and it doesn't take any time. You have to go through a background check. Both people do that are getting into the program. And then you're assigned an eBuddy by our director of that program. And you're expected to email, I think, once a month. Me and Tasha just have a lot to chat about. So we do it a little bit more. So I think that's, a great opportunity if maybe you don't have as much time, but you're really interested in that.
Right.
So those are kind of the other two parts of our friendship pillar.
Okay. So if someone reads this and they're interested in getting involved, whether it was they're at a school or they're a citizen match or something of that nature, what would you say are their steps on doing something? How would you suggest getting started?
Sure. I think to get started, if you're really interested in one of these things, is to email us at ohio@bestbuddies.org, because then we can kind of direct you to the appropriate place to get all the information you need, whether you're starting a chapter or if you just want to get into an eBuddies match. We can direct you to the right place. Each of these things is pretty simple to start. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. Starting a school, you need a couple other things in place, like the school's approval and an advisor at the school that will advise the chapter and a student there. We would need all those things to come together before we put you into our online system, where you're able to start accepting applications and making buddy matches.
Okay. All right.
But ohio@bestbuddies.org is the best email you can send anything to.
So since we're both involved with Best Buddies, me on a real small scale and you on a large scale, um, I was one thing I think that helped me get a little bit more interested was participating just like you did in the walk or something on a smaller scale. Is that oftentimes what you, if somebody does contact you, um, just to put their, dip their toes in the water a little bit and just to kind of see if they're, ready for that kind of um, involvement? Is that something that you generally end up trying to do, or is there something else that you would end up doing?
Sure. So if you're ready, wanting to just dip your toes in the water, as you
Yeah.
say, the way that we're able to run our programs in Ohio is through fundraising
Okay.
and development. And so our biggest source of funding right now is from two fundraising events that we do every year. Our first event that we have in the spring is our Champions Gala. 8 people from across the state are chosen to run a campaign for 10 weeks where they fundraise money and raise awareness. And then we all meet up at a gala. Next year, our gala is actually March 14th, 2020. And whoever has raised the most by 9 p.m. on the night of the gala is crowned Ohio's Grand Champion of the Year. It's a really fun event and a great opportunity to see our mission in action, whether you just come to the gala or become a champion yourself. It's a lot of fun. You really get to see our mission. We have buddy pairs speak, and it's a really fun, great night. Then the other event we do is our friendship walk, and the walk is super fun. It's every fall around October or early November, and we hold it in downtown Columbus. We have anywhere from 300 to 500 people come and walk for inclusion. Leading up to the walk, people will sign up walk teams, and you'll sign up as an individual walker, and you can share your mission through letters and emails and on social media to help us fundraise money through your link. What's cool is that event is free to attend, so if you don't fundraise or donate at all, you can still come and see what our mission is all about. And it's a really fun day. We even this past year had Derek Dietrich from the Cincinnati Reds join us and his buddy Teddy Kramer, who also works for the Cincinnati Reds. And so we just had a fantastic day. It's a lot of fun. This year we were able to have it at COSI, the Science Museum in downtown, and we ended at Land Grant Brewing Company, which is a big supporter of ours. And it was just a really fun day. Both of those events also have committees that help plan the events. So the Friendship Walk Committee was out getting sponsors. They were helping plan logistics of the walk. They were inviting people to join us that day. They were trying to get different community groups and companies to set up walk teams, really inspiring the schools that are friendship chapters to come and join us and help us raise funds and awareness for the organization so we can keep the chapters we have and also keep getting into more schools and making more friendship matches and leadership opportunities. Those are a great way to get involved because your commitment is, a couple weeks really leading up to an event to make sure that our event is really successful. Both of the committees of those events are like super fun. And we have a really good time planning and getting together and just really making sure that everyone in Ohio knows about what we're trying to do. We also have our Ohio Advisory Board, which we have 9 individuals that help us with those events, but also how are we getting other funding to help us achieve our mission and helping us make connections to get into more schools and just making sure that we're really staying on track and growing our mission here in the state. If someone was interested in being an advisory board member, they would contact me and I would kind of go over what are the expectations of a great advisory board member, why do they want to join, and then our advisory board member would interview that individual and we would see if they're a good fit for our board. But they're a super fun board and have a lot of fun, and we make sure that we're able to spread inclusion in our state.
Super. So you've been there about a year and a half. What would you, if you had to say one thing that you're most proud of as far as accomplishment or something, what might that be?
Oh gosh. The
I know
thing
there's so many.
you flatter me. You flatter me. And I like
Hey, I
affirmation.
will
So
ask you. I will ask you this question. Okay. Do you know how to spell your last name yet?
yes, I do. I do actually know how to spell my last name. Skufca. Yeah, that's gonna be.
Congratulations on getting
Now I
married.
have two hard names because everyone wants to call me Caitlin, but it's Catlin Skufca.
That's right.
For the recording,
For
Catlin Skufca.
that's right.
Anyway, the thing I'm most proud of, well, it's hard for me to say like I'm proud of just one thing. I think it takes so much more than me just to accomplish the things that we're doing. Our mission is really to build a global volunteer movement that pushes our mission forward. And so I'm really proud of any time that I'm able to speak with a volunteer and put them in an opportunity where they're able to spread our mission and accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. Um, I mean, we had a wonderful gala this year, and our gala chair Lou King did a phenomenal job of really planning the event and getting more people involved in that committee to make sure that we were really successful. Whether some of those committee members were out getting silent auction items, or they were coming that day and helping us set up. And whenever I see new people come into our fold and come in and be a part of this team that's helping us move forward, that's when I'm really feel most proud and most excited. When it's someone I think sometimes that I haven't even talked to, it's like Lou and I, or your wife Connie and I, are always talking about who are we bringing in, who else can help us make sure that this is a success. And I think anytime that someone comes in where I'm not directly calling them and asking them for something, that feels really good, because I feel like that means we're getting the word out there. We're doing a good job of our communications through social media and email and mail. And we're also giving people the tools to be able to spread it themselves. And it's not just coming from Best Buddy staff. I think that's definitely what I feel best about. And I hope that we can repeat that a lot in my next year and a half.
Okay. And to make everybody understand, you're strictly on donations, correct? Your organization is, how's it funded, and your staffing and so forth.
How we're funded.
Hmm.
So Best Buddies is all one 501c3 nonprofit. We're headquartered in Miami, but Ohio is responsible for our own P&L. So any money that is donated to our state stays here and benefits the programs in Ohio. And we have two staff members right now, myself and an awesome program manager, Abby Ramp, and she really runs our programs. And I do a little bit of that with her, and I run our development. We get our funding from three major ways. We get it through the events, is the
Hmm.
most funding that we get. We also have foundations and individual donors that want to support us. And so we get funding that way. And we recently just got some government state funding as well, which will really help propel us to this, next level of hopefully doubling our impact in the next couple years.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Um, well, you've had such great questions. I feel like I feel like we've done a good job of covering it. Well, I just want to share that, anyone watching this, it takes so many people to have a movement in our state. And anyone that wants to get involved, I mean, you can do anything from sign up to be an e-buddy to help us get sponsors for our gala. I mean, there's so many ways that you can be involved that make such a big impact. Connie Mehlman, our board member and host site coordinator for the Miami University chapter. She started by getting a chapter started there at Miami 15 years ago. And now so many of her students have gone on to do incredible things. One of the students that was at Miami a couple years ago now, started a chapter at the high school she works at Midview High School. Her name is Meredith.
Great.
And I emailed Connie to say, look at the impact you had. Not only was this person involved when they were in college, now they're 60 individuals that are in a chapter in Northern Ohio right now because of that impact she made. And so, you know, a little bit of spreading the word really goes a long way. And so I hope people will join us. It takes a village and
Sure.
a state to show the world that inclusion really lives in this state. And we're not going to stand for anyone being excluded from something that they really want to do.
Great. Great. All right. I am done. And
Yay.
you did a great job. I think that was wonderful. So
Well, thank you. Well, how's it going at your new company? Like,
it's going,
what are your guys'
yeah, it's
things that
going
you're
well.
working
Yeah, it's going well. We're just brought on a new county. So
on?
they're they're onboarding them effective November 1st,
Oh,
which
wow.
is nice. And then we've got a couple other counties that we're in the process of doing bids for. And then there's some other providers and agencies that are out there that we've got some that we're in the, what will we say, the steps
Yeah,
of doing business and partnering with them. So, but yeah, I'm very excited about the opportunity and learning a lot as I go. It is a learning process. Even though I've been involved with sales, this is a lot of relationship building, as you know, probably more than anybody. Um, Trying to present something new um, is exciting. At the same time frame, it can be a challenge, and but I do enjoy that. That's
that
the
is
reason why I did it. I mean, I like a challenge. So
good. I feel like the first year of any job it is like a big learning curve.
it,
Anywhere you go, even if you are way into your career.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
every first year, it's funny. I like I'm someone who really likes to get a lot done. And when things aren't getting done on the timeline I think they should, I get pretty antsy. And so that's hard for me on my first year of a job. But
yeah.
you know, things take time, and so you got to allow that sometimes. So,
Well, I can say from an onlooker that you're doing a great job. All right.
well, thank
So
you.
the
You know how much I appreciate you and Connie. I mean,
well, I'm
yes, I mean,
way
truly.
way behind the scenes from Connie, but just from an onlooker and seeing the this past walk, I thought it was from the year before where you had the weather was kind of a little bit uh, challenging, but the site that you had, the walk you had, having Derek there and Teddy. Uh, just made a world of difference. So,
I
and
think I agree. I mean, this walk was my favorite Best Buddies event that we did. I mean, I think it just like everything worked out. Like it was
oh
just
yeah, it
so
was great.
all the
Now,
pieces.
who is
Nothing I felt like went too long or anything. I don't know. It was. I agree. It was I was like on a mountaintop after that event. It was so good. I just you know, it was just fun. Like I felt like okay, people got to see our mission. We
sure?
raised a lot of money.
Oh,
It was a fun event. Like I think anyone would have had fun if they came to that. You know.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, I will tell you, I was in tears. Who's the guy that plays the guitar? The
Zane
electric.
Harshaw.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
oh yeah,
what
he
a
is awesome, and his family, his parents, Gwen and Jean, are
yeah,
like the coolest people and so awesome. I like love talking to them. They're
yeah.
so interesting, and they've just you know they've leaned in so much to Zane and do everything they can to make this world better for him and for
Oh
everybody like him, you know. And I appreciate their approach so much. And I mean, they just show up, they're there. And then Zane is a great guitar player. Like it's funny
unbelievable.
because actually, the Land Grant Brewing Company, the person I worked with there, Tom, who's also super awesome. He's like, you know, when you said you had a band and individuals had autism, he goes, my expectation wasn't very high. And he's like, they're not, you know, they're not just like good for a band of people with disabilities. They're like really good. Like we want to book them more. Like we want, and I'm like, I know. So, you know, they're changing, you know,
Yeah.
perceptions through the power of music, and they're so good and so cool. And anytime the national anthem gets played, I get teary eyed.
Oh
So,
my gosh. He is unbelievable. So yeah, I was just like just watching him engage, and everybody that was around him was just like, oh my gosh. I mean, and actually the band members, if you watch them, they take their cues from him. I mean, he's the leader of that group.
totally.
Uh,
Yeah, he
and,
does really good at that. And it's funny
oh,
because I would not say Zane is like, you know, he's not the first person to like walk up to you at an event. You know, he's kind of hangs back, observes. But when
sure.
he gets the guitar out, he's in the middle of the room playing it
Oh,
like, you know, there's no tomorrow. So I love
yeah,
that. I think it's cool he's able to express that way, and he's
sure.
so good. And it's funny, his parents will say, you know, neither of them were very musically inclined. Like at all. They're like, he totally taught himself, and we were
Yeah.
both like blown away and surprised. And they have a really cool story actually. Gwen, his mom, did a TED talk about it,
Oh, okay.
which is online, which is super cool. And then
Yeah.
Zane plays the guitar, and it's
Oh,
really cool.
I'll
So.
have to look that up then. Okay, I'll have to get Connie to look that up because he was awesome to me. So
Oh, okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm going to share
yeah,
that with them too. They love to hear that feedback.
yeah, he was absolutely. That was a great finish, and um, just made a world of difference there. So, all right, I will let you go.
All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
All right, take care. Bye.
All right, bye.